I'd like to introduce our second speaker. His name is Mr. Kevin Sun.
Okay, hello. A look at government policies driven by utilitarianism. So, I want you to imagine that there's a train and it's about to plow over 5 people, and you're standing off to the side and you can pull this lever, and if you pull the lever, the train will switch tracks and it will kill only one person. So in the spirit of this question, I want you to raise your hand if you think you'll pull the lever and kill the one person. And if you don't raise your hand right now, then the 5 people are about to get plowed over. Okay, yeah, a bunch of us would raise our hands, right? So this is utilitarianism in action. Utilitarianism is the idea that we should do what's best for the most number of people. And it pretty much makes sense. The government does this all the time. Today, I'll talk about 3 policies that the government does that are driven by utilitarianism, and I'm going to provide some facts that we don't often see that try to that allow us to assess the situation with the most information possible. The 3 policies I'm going to look at are the minimum wage, the legal status of marijuana, and subsidizing higher education. So, the minimum wage, it's currently at $7.25 an hour federally, and is higher in local state governments. Many people protest. They want it to be higher, perhaps up to $15 an hour, or a living wage, because if you work 40 hours a week, maybe you should earn enough to make a decent living. The moral argument for this is pretty clear. If we raise the minimum wage, then the lower class will be financially empowered. They'll be more secure. They'll have a better standard of living. They'll be able to participate in the democratic process more, simply because they have more money. However, the economy is very complicated. In a landmark report by economists David Newmark and William Washer in 2006, they looked at all the literature comparing minimum wage and the number of jobs, and they found that if the government raises the minimum wage, then the number of jobs will go down. This was confirmed in 2014 by a Congressional Budget Office report that said if we just raise the minimum wage to just $10.10, that's nowhere near this 15, just $10.10, 1 million jobs could be lost. So, ironically, these people who are protesting the low minimum wage, they are very likely to lose their jobs if they get what they want. So, now that we've talked about the minimum wage, I'll talk about the legal status of marijuana. Marijuana is currently illegal at the federal level, and every year in grade school we learn it's a gateway drug, and if you do it, you're going to start doing harder things, and then everything will fall apart. And so the moral argument, again, is pretty clear. We should ban marijuana because we don't want people to get high all the time, walking around being unproductive citizens. And then we also have all these health concerns. For instance, a 2015 study from Northwestern showed that teens who smoked marijuana daily had brain abnormalities and poor long-term memory. So it's bad for our health, it's bad for society. But the part about where it's bad for our health, it's not super clear. So University of California at San Francisco and the University of Alabama, they looked at 5,000 men and women across the United States from 1985 to 2006. They found that while tobacco decreases your lung capacity, marijuana actually increases it. Now this doesn't mean that marijuana is good for you, and I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the health effects are still being disputed. But the financial impact of having to enforce these marijuana laws is not disputed. In 2013, the American Civil Liberties Union, they saw that the United States spent $3.6 billion enforcing these marijuana laws, most of them which are nonviolent offenses. So that's $3.6 billion. To put that in perspective, in 2015, there were about 500,000 homeless people in the United States, according to the Department of Housing. So $3.6 billion, if you just try to buy these 500,000 people, homeless people, cheeseburgers, you could buy each one of them 12 cheeseburgers every day for an entire year. Now, just from a utilitarian perspective, just helping people out, it seems to me that if we can buy homeless people, every single homeless person, 12 cheeseburgers a day, that seems like money is better spent than capturing nonviolent criminals. Finally, we'll talk about subsidizing higher education. There are many studies that go something like this. The Federal Reserve Bank at St. Louis in 2015 said that a white college-educated man aged 30 in 1980, so he's like 65 now, will earn 52% more over his lifetime than someone with similar attributes who didn't go to college. And yeah, this makes sense. If you go to college, you'll make more money. So the government encourages you to go to college, encourages young people to go to college, through loans and grants and tuition subsidies and all these various programs trying to get people to go to college. However, is the idea here to help the economy, or I mean, you might make more, but it doesn't necessarily help the economy. So, according to the Mackinac Center for Public Policy, there is no correlation between how well a state's economy does and how much of its population went to college. Furthermore, when we encourage people to go to college, we might just be setting them up for failure, and not to mention the massive amounts of debt that they might have to incur. According to the Chronicle of Higher Education, in 2013, only 34% of people graduating in Michigan public universities were graduating in 4 years. Only 34%. And I should note that this rate is even lower for minority students, who are often especially encouraged to apply to college. So when we encourage people to apply to college without looking at the grand scheme of things, we're often setting them up for failure and a lifetime of debt. So to conclude, I've talked about marijuana, the minimum wage, and subsidizing higher education. They're all driven by utilitarianism, which is very noble, but we really have to consider the whole situation. So imagine the train is now about to plow over like 100 people, and then you could pull a lever and kill one. So if you raise your hand before, you'd probably raise your hand now, right? Because 100 is better than 1. But what if that one person was somebody you love? So before we make decisions, especially when the stakes are high, we really should look at the entire situation.